Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Salmiatri, name 210502502074 from class 8. The title of the material that I will bring today is South Korean culture.
South Korea is a country that is quite famous, so I am interested in discussing the culture that exists in the country. The Republic of Korea, or commonly known as South Korea, is a country in East Asia that covers the southern part of the Korean peninsula. The people there are famous for their politeness, which can be seen from the way of greeting, namely by bowing, which means traditional culture in South Korea. In addition to greeting culture, traditional South Korean clothing is also interesting to discuss. These typical clothes are often known as hanbok. Hanbok is a traditional Korean clothing that generally has bright colors, simple lines, and pockets. Usually, the hanbok that is used by the royal family or noble descent will be different in model from ordinary people. But currently, hanbok is no longer using this system. Next, kimchi. Of course, we are no stranger to this food. Kimchi, which is South Korean specialty made from fermented cabbage slices combined with anchovy paste, which is delicious and has spicy and sour taste. Korean people really like kimchi, and this food is always consumed side by side with other dishes, such as spicy fried chicken or fried rice. Like in Indonesia, South Korea also has celebration on certain days. They celebrate the day with a festival, such as the Barang Mood Festival or the Sokalit Mood Festival. From the video, we can conclude the festival is called the Mood Festival because in this festival, people play in mud, such as mud resting and swimming in mud pools, with the belief that mud is efficacious for the skin. South Korea also has traditional folk dance, one of which is the Buchaichum dance. It's a word that comes from the word Buchai, which means friend, and Chum means dance. This dance used to be performed as a worship to the god of shamanism, the belief that connects Buddhism and Taoism. This dance is usually performed by a group of women using a fan and wearing traditional South Korean clothes with bright colors. This fan dance will bring up a wave, flying butterflies, sea waves, flowers, and so on. In Italy, this dance was used as an offering dance. Now, Buchaichun is performed in state events or festivals. Next, language in South Korea. The language in South Korea also has its own charm and is even able to make people outside to learn it, including in Indonesia. This can be proven by often encounter Indonesian people, especially among young women who learn the Korean language. The language structure, grammar, and vocabulary are similar to Japan's. Dialects are regional, differing mainly in. The main difference in dialects is also associated with social status. Korean has one of the highest literacy rates in the world due to the phonetic nature of the written language, which was invented in the mid-15th century to give Koreans a single language. And then Hanok. Most of us must have seen traditional Korean houses, both from photos and when watching Korean movies. Hanok is the name for a traditional South Korean house. This house has a unique and aesthetic appearance in terms of architecture. Hanok designs reflect the spiritual relationship between humans and nature. The structure of building brings us back to a simple and summer life. Although there are not many buildings in South Korea that carry the concept of Hanok houses, Hanok-type houses still exist today. Next, religion and belief. South Korea supports religion freedom. Confucianism, Buddhism, and Christianity are the main formal religions. Many Koreans believe in ancestral spirits and observe rituals. Confucianism is a social and political philosophy that pervades Korean culture. Similar to Indonesia, South Korea also performs traditional ceremonies for babies. If in Indonesia, especially the Javanese people have a Tedak-Sitan ceremony, then South Korea also has a similar traditional ceremony called Doljachi. Both ceremonies are held to express gratitude to God for having been blessed with a baby. If the Tedak-Sitan is done the first time the baby steps on the ground, then the Doljanchi is held on the baby's first birthday. And then Korean pop culture or K-pop is a music culture from South Korea that has attracted young people all over the world, including Indonesia. K-pop has the characteristic of music that provides its own pleasure for the audience. The love for K-pop music has given rise to various fan groups as supporters of K-pop idols, commonly referred to as boy bands or girl groups. K-pop fan groups have a habit of hunting for all information about their idols and have an intensity of intellectual involvement that can be seen from knowledge about K-pop music and emotional involvement that can be seen from their interest in the soul. In addition to the interesting culture that I have described earlier, lastly, South Korea also has a culture that is so contrary to the culture in Indonesia. I like drinking liquor that is soju, a drink similar to vodka which is certainly intoxicating. Korean drinking style that is sitting close together boisterously, accompanied by the sound of clinking glasses and shouting "Gonbi," which means story. And the last, things not to do in South Korea. Number 1, holding down the bowl and breathing first when eating with parents. In Indonesia, things like that are commonplace, but not in South Korea. If you hold down the bowl or bribe first, then you will be considered rude. Number 2, writing in red ink. There is an assumption that is spread in Korea. Writing someone's name in red ink means you want that person dead. And then shaking hands with one hand. Speak wrongly in public. Refuse drinks from elders. Use one hand to give or receive gift. Leave the chopsticks standing upright on the rice. In Korea, this is considered to be like incense burned at a funeral. If you do this, you could say you are thinking your friend is dead. And then, touching other people's shoulders when greeting. And last, bringing up a sensitive topic about Japan.
That's all my explanation about some of the cultures that exist in South Korea. Hopefully with this we can get to know foreign culture better and details. If there is an explanation that is less clear for me, friends can look for more extensive information in other sources. Thank you for all attention and sorry